They say rejection is supposed to set you free, except when it happens in front of your entire pack, when the mate you've waited your whole life for looks at you like you're nothing and chooses someone else. In that particular case, rejection destroys you. My name is Evelyn, and I've spent 23 years being exactly what everyone needed me to be. The perfect daughter who never quespoisoned, the obedient pack member who followed every rule, the pay-pleasant future mate who waited with a smile while Marcus, my promised mate since we were children, took his plus me preparing for our bond. I wrote poetry in journals I never showed anyone. I memorized the way his laugh sounded across the training grounds. I planned our future in secret, foolish detail, the den we'd share, the pups we'd raise, the life we'd build together. And then, 3 nights ago, at the annual mate ceremony in front of the N Pluri Crescent Moon Pack, Marcus looked into my eyes and spoke the words that shaleered everything. I reject this bond. Not because he'd found his true fated mate, not because of some noble reason, but because my bloodline wasn't strong enough, because I couldn't give him the powerful heirs he needed to secure his posipson as future beta, because I was, in his exact words, a liability he could no longer afford. My family didn't comfort me. They looked at me with cold disappointment, as if my reject-son was a personal failure that shamed our N+4 line. My mother couldn't even meet my eyes at breakfast the next morning. My father just said, "You'll have to work harder to prove your worth to the pack now," as if being publicly discarded wasn't proof enough that I had none. So tonight, while the pack celebrates Marcus's new engagement to Stella Riversong, daughter of the wealthiest family in our territory, completed just 2 days after he rejected me, I slipped away. I walked into the winter forest where the snow falls thick enough to muffle sound, where the cold is so sharp it cuts through the numbness, making me feel something even if that something is pain. I wanted to disappear into the white silence, to let the winter take me somewhere far from pitying looks and whispered gossip and the ghost of a future that was never really mine. That's when I saw the eyes, red as burning coals, watching me from between the frost-covered pines. Every ins, planked I possessed screamed predator. Shitters know the smell of danger. It's coded into our bones. And this was danger in its purest form, not the rogue wolves that some plammies wandered too close to pack territory, not the black bears that denned in the northern caves. This was something else N+ rely. The creature stepped from the shadows, and my breath stopped. A wolf, massive. Its fur so black it seemed to absorb the moonlight, making the falling snow look like stars dying against its coat. Easily twice the size of any she-deer I'd ever seen, with paws that Lee prints, deep as dinner plates in the fresh snow. Those red eyes fixed on me with an intelligence that was disblunkly, impossibly human. I should have run. Every survival instinct demanded it. But I was so red of running, from rejection, from shame, from a life that had never wanted me anyway. So I stood there, trembling, and met that burning gaze. "Go ahead," I whispered. "If you're going to kill me, make it quick." The wolf didn't alack. It moved with a grace that seemed wrong for something so large, circling me slowly, not stalking, not threatening, almost assessing. When it completed the circle, it sat in the snow, head plummeted, studying me like I was a mystery it needed to solve. Then it did something that stopped my heart. It rose, turned, and disappeared into the darkness. I heard the essout crunch of its paws in the snow, moving away, and felt a strange, aching loss that made no sense. But moments later, it returned. In its massive jaws, held with impossible gentleness, was a single blood-red rose. The petals looked black in the moonlight, crystallized with frost. It shouldn't have existed. Roses didn't bloom in winter, and we were miles from any garden. The wolf approached slowly, cautiously, as if afraid I would bolt. It stopped 3 feet away and lowered its head, placing the rose in the snow between us. Then it backed away, those red eyes never leaving mine, and lay down, making itself smaller, less threatening, offering me a jet and Y+ing to see if I would accept. My hand shook as I reached for the rose. The moment my fingers touched the frozen petals, I felt it, a pull so intense it stole my breath, like an invisible thread had wrapped around my ribs and was drawing me forward. Like something in my chest was calling to something in this creature, a recognizable that existed below language, below thought. The wolf's eyes flashed brighter, and I heard a sound, low, rumbling, almost like a purr, pleasure, recognition. "Who are you?" I breathed. It rose, shook the snow from its fur, and turned to leave, but it paused, looking back at me over one massive shoulder. Those eyes held mine for one more heartbeat, and in them I saw something that terrified me more than the threat of death. I saw want, then it was gone, melting into the forest like smoke, leaving only prints in the snow and the impossible rose in my shaking hands. I stood there, unplustle the cold bit through my coat. Unplustle my breath came in visible clouds. Unplustle the rose petals had melted the frost from my fingers with their own impossible warmth. And when I finally stumbled home, I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shattered, that the creature in the forest hadn't just given me a flower. It had marked me, claimed me. What I didn't know, what I wouldn't learn unplexy, it was far too late to run, was that the eyes watching me from the darkness belonged to Victor Gray, the most feared alpha in the Northern Territories. A man cursed to never trust, his fated mate, a wolf going feral with the need to claim what his human side believed was his enemy, and that the rose wasn't a GIT, it was a warning. In Victor's world, there's no difference between courtship and obsession, no line between protect Fallon and possession, and I had just accepted his claim without even knowing it. The hunt had begun, and I was the prize, but that would come later. First, I had to survive the morning ater when I woke in my bed with no memory of walking home, and found massive wolf prints in the snow leading to my window. Rose petals scaliered across my pillow like drops of frozen blood. I woke to sunlight cawing through my window like an accuse-up song, my head pounding with the dull ache of too little sleep and too much cold. For one blessed moment I forgot. Then memory crashed back, Marcus's reject song, the forest, the wolf, and I pressed my face into my pillow with a groan. That's when I felt them. Rose petals against my cheek, so tea as whispers and impossibly warm. I bolted upright. My room looked exactly as I'd laid it, but scalared across my pillow and tangled in my hair were dozens of deep red petals, each one crystallized with frost that melted at my touch. The rose from the forest lay on my nightstand, espule perfect, espule defying every law of nature by exists spying it all. My window was closed, locked from the inside. Heart hammering, I crossed to it and looked out at the fresh snow below. The morning sun made everything blindingly white, except for the trail of massive paw prints leading directly to my window. They were so deep the snow had collapsed inward, showing the full span of each pad. No wolf should be that large. No animal should be able to climb a 2-story wall. But something had. Downstairs, I found my family at breakfast, the silence so thick I could taste it. My mother's movements were crisp and cold. As she served eggs, I knew I wouldn't be able to eat. My father hid behind his newspaper, the headline something about territorial disputes I couldn't focus on. My younger sister Mara stared at her plate, cheeks pink with second-hand shame. No one asked where I'd been last night. No one no-plussed the rose petals, espal caught in my braid. "The river songs have invited us to dinner," my mother said finally, not looking at me. "To celebrate Marcus and Stella's engagement. We'll need to accept, of course. Show we harbor no ill will." "Of course," I echoed, the words task-blotzing like ash. "You'll need to apologize to Marcus," my father added, finally lowering his paper. His eyes were hard. "For any awkwardness your Riekpson may have caused." My Riekpson, as if being publicly rejected was something I'd done to him. I ate my breakfast untouched and walked out the back door. No one called me back. The forest pulled at me like a magniplexie north, that same inexplicable draw I'd felt last night. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that going back was dangerous and stupid and exactly the kind of reckless behavior that proved Marcus right about my unworthiness. I went anyway. I found him playing in the same clearing, a shadow among shadows despite the morning light. The black wolf sat perfectly swustle, those red eyes tracking my every movement as I approached. He didn't rise, didn't growl, just watched with that unselling intelligence that made my skin prickle with awareness. "You brought me home," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Didn't you?" His head pulted, almost like a nod. I should have been terrified. Instead, I felt my eyes burning with tears I'd been holding back since the reject Falzon ceremony. Why? Why would you do that for someone like me? The wolf rose then, moving with that impossible grace, and I tensed. But he simply walked closer, stopping just within arm's reach, and lay down in the snow, making himself smaller, less threatening. Those burning eyes never let mine, and in them I saw something that made my chest ache. Recognize, understanding, as if this creature somehow knew exactly what it felt like to be unwanted. "I don't understand any of this," I whispered, and the tears finally spilled over. The wolf made a sound, low, mournful, almost like a whine. He inched forward on his belly, unpulsal, his massive head was close enough to touch, then simply rested there in the snow. "Wow," I sang, not demanding, not taking, just there. Presented my pain in a way no one else had been. My hand moved before I could stop it, fingers sinking into the thick fur at his neck. He was warm despite the cold, solid and real, and when I felt him lean into my touch, something in my chest cracked open. I sank to my knees in the snow and cried into the fur of a creature that should have killed me, while those red eyes watched over me like a vigil. And for the first me since Marcus spoke those Devasta Flumpsking words, I didn't feel alone. The summons arrived 3 days later, delivered by a courier in black who didn't wait for a response. Heavy cardstock, expensive paper, embossed with a silver wolf's head I recognized immediately. The gray family crest. My father's face went pale when he saw it. "What have you done?" "Nothing," I whispered, but my hand shook as I opened it. "Miss Evelyn Clark is required to present herself at Gray Manor regarding Mellors of Territorial Security. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. non-negociable. No signature. None needed." Victor Gray didn't make requests. He issued commands, and people obeyed or faced consequences that became cautionary tales whispered around winter fires. My mother spent the morning drilling me on proper squealy, as if manners would protect me from the most dangerous alpha in the north. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not make eye contact. Do not, under any circumstances, give him reason to doubt your loyalty to Crescent Moon Pack. I wanted to ask what loyalty they thought I owed a pack that had watched me be discarded like trash, but I kept silent. I was good at that. Grey Manor rose from the forest like something out of a Gothic nightmare, all dark stone and towering windows that reflected the sky like dead eyes. The gates opened before I could knock, groaning on hinges that sounded like screams. Inside, everything was cold elegance. Marble floors, vaulted ceilings, tapestries depicting ancient ballets where wolves tore through enemy lines. A servant led me through corridors that seemed designed to disorient, finally stopping at massive oak doors carved with more wolves, these ones with their teeth bared. The Alpha will see you now. The servant's voice was flat, and she wouldn't meet my eyes as she pushed open the doors and let me there. The office was enormous, dominated by a desk that looked hewn from a single tree. Behind it sat a man who stole the breath from my lungs. Victor Gray was Devasta. Psh! Sharp cheekbones, a jaw that could cut glass, dark hair that fell carelessly across his forehead. But it was the scars that held my Elen Pson. 3 pale lines that ran from his LET temple down to his jaw, like something with claws had tried to tear his face off. They should have made him ugly. Instead, they made him terrifying. His eyes met mine and my heart stopped. Ice blue, cold as a winter grave. Nothing like the burning red of the wolf in the forest, yet something about the intensity of his gaze made my skin prickle with awful recognition. Sit. His voice was deep, controlled, edged with barely restrained violence. I sat. He rose from his chair with predatory grace, moving around the desk to lean against it, arms crossed, studying me like I was a specimen pinned under glass. Evelyn Clark, recently rejected by her promised mate. Bloodline unremarkable, no notable skills or achievements, no reason for the most feared pack in the territory to take no +6 of her existence. Each word was a calculated cut, delivered with surgical precision. And yet, he snood, taking a step closer, 3 nights ago, you were found wandering the borders of my territory, alone, at night, in a restricted zone where 2 rival packs have been making incursions. Another step. Coincidence? I was just walking. You were trespassing. The word cracked like a whip. He was close now, towering over me, and I could feel the heat busting from him despite the ice in his eyes. At the exact loca pson where we've been tracking suspicious AC Vitae, where classified pack documents have gone missing. I don't know anything about documents. His hand shot out, gripping my chin, forcing my head up. His touch burned like frostbite, and those cold eyes bored into mine with an intensity that made me want to crawl out of my skin. Don't lie to me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This man radiated danger the way the sun radiated heat. Constant, inescapable, fatal if you got too close. Your reject-pulson was public, he said sotilely, and somehow the quiet was worse than shoe-plusking, humilia-plussing, the kind of thing that makes people vulnerable, susceptible to manipula-pulson. Tell me, Evelyn, did someone approach you a tear, offer you sympathy, a chance for revenge against the pack that failed you? No one approached me. I don't. My voice broke. I'm not a spy. He released my chin with a sound of disgust, turning away. The river songs have been making moves against my territory for months. Your former mate is now bonded to Stella River Song, and you conveniently appear on my borders the same night Sensilv Informapson disappears. He spun back, and the look on his face was pure contempt. You're either a spy or a fool, and I haven't decided which is worse. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I didn't do anything wrong. Then why? He leaned down, unplussel, our faces were inches apart. Do you smell like wolf? My breath caught. He was close enough that I could see silver flecks in those ice-blue eyes, close enough that I registered the scars on his hands, close enough that something wild and desperate in my chest pulled toward him, even as every rational thought screamed to run. "I found a wolf in the forest," I whispered. "He didn't hurt me." Victor's expression went Eulerly Asbule. Then he smiled, and it was the cruelest thing I'd ever seen. "Get out of my territory, Miss Clark, and if I catch you on my lands again." He straightened, turning his back on me with casual dismissal. "Well, let's hope you're smart enough not to test me." I fled, but as I reached the doors, I looked back. Victor stood at the window, silhouetted against the dying light, and for just a moment, so brief I could have imagined it, his eyes flashed red. The wolf came every night, that. I started leaving my window unlatched, though I couldn't have explained why. Some ins was saying deeper than reason told me he wouldn't hurt me, that those burning red eyes held more gentleness than any human gaze I'd encountered lately. The first GIT appeared on my windowsill at dawn, a rabbit, freshly killed, throat torn with surgical precision. My mother found it before I did, and nearly called the pack guards, convinced some predator was stalking our house. I said nothing as my father disposed of it, but that night I found a haunch of venison wrapped in leaves on my pillow. Essable warm. My family had stopped including me at meals. "Unplausible you repair the damage to our repute of son," my father said. The wolf, it seemed, had no past. I ate the venison in secret, tears streaming down my face, overwhelmed by the kindness of a creature that shouldn't care whether I starved. The GTs became stranger, more personal. Wildflowers that didn't grow within 50 miles of here, woven into intricate crowns that must have taken hours of impossible dexterity. A river stone worn smooth as glass, warm as if it had been held against skin. And then, one night, something that made my blood run cold. A piece of fabric, torn and stained with blood. I recognized the pelerine immediately. Marcus's formal jacket, the one he'd worn to announce his engagement to Stella. The wolf sat at the edge of the tree line, visible in the moonlight, watching my window. When our eyes met, he dipped his head once, a warning, a promise. "He hurt you." I have not forgotten. I should have been horrified. Instead, something fierce and dark in my chest whispered good. The knock came the next evening, sharp and insistent. I opened the door to find a woman who could only be described as devastating. All sharp angles and silver eyes, dark hair cropped short, dressed in black leather that probably cost more than my family's house. "Evelyn Clark?" She didn't wait for confirm aplomb, pushing past me into the entryway. "We need to talk. Now." "Who?" "Maya Gray." She turned those silver eyes on me, and I saw the family resemblance immediately. The same predatory grace, the same barely contained violence. "Victor's sister, and you're the idiot who's going to get my brother killed." My heart stopped. "What?" Maya's laugh was biler. "You haven't figured it out yet? The wolf that's been corpsing you like some lovesick puppy. That's Victor, his wolf, anyway." She moved closer, and I backed up unplausible. I hit the wall. "My brother is cursed, Lily girl. His wolf knows you're his fated mate, but his human side?" She tapped her temple. "He thinks you're a spy sent to destroy everything he's built. Can't reconcile the two. Can't trust what his wolf is screaming at him. That's impossible. The GITs, the protecpson, that's the wolf, the interrogupson, the cruelty, that's the man." Maya's expression was almost pitying. "And every day the split gets worse. The wolf is becoming feral, desperate to claim you. The man is becoming paranoid, convinced you're his enemy. Soon one side is going to win, and either way, Victor destroys himself. I couldn't breathe. Victor, the cold, cruel alpha who'd accused me of treason, the wolf who brought me flowers and food and laid in the snow when I cried, the same being, fractured. Why are you telling me this? Because you have two choices. Maya headed for the door, pausing with her hand on the knob. Run. Leave the territory tonight and never come back. Let my brother suffer, but at least he'll survive. She looked back, and her eyes were ancient with sorrow. Or stay, and watch the man I love more than anything in this world tear himself apart trying to reconcile what he feels with what he believes. There has to be another way. There isn't. Maya's voice was flat. The curse has been killing greys for 3 Genera Plusons. You're just the latest Vic Plus Mamim. She opened the door, cold air rushing in. My advice? Run. You seem like a nice girl. You don't deserve what's coming. Then she was gone, leaving me trembling in the doorway. That night, I sat at my window, watching the tree line. The wolf emerged from the shadows right on plus me, those red eyes finding mine across the distance. He sat in the snow, papal scent and espoir, wainsawing for permission to approach. Victor. This was Victor, the man who'd touched me like I was poison. The wolf, who'd been nothing but gentle. I thought about running, about packing a bag and disappearing before whatever darkness Maya warned about could consume us both. Instead, I unlatched the window fully and stepped back, and Invita Psan. The wolf's eyes blazed brighter, and he moved forward through the snow, every line of his body radiating desperate, dangerous hope. I wasn't running. God help us both. Maya returned 3 nights later, finding me in the forest clearing where Victor and I had fallen into a careful ruse. He'd approach, I'd sit in the snow, and we'd exist in silence that felt more honest than any conversa plus on I'd had with my own family. Tonight he'd brought me pine branches woven with winter berries, an offering I couldn't begin to understand. He's getting worse, Maya said from the tree line, making me jump. The wolf's head snapped toward her, a growl rumbling through his chest. Easy, brother. I'm not here to hurt her. But the wolf moved between us anyway, protective, possessive, and Maya's expression crumbled into something like grief. You need to understand what you're caught in the middle of, she said, addressing me while watching her brother with heartbreak in her silver eyes. The curse, our family's poison. She sat on a fallen log, and slowly, carefully, the wolf allowed me to move closer to hear her. 3 Genera Plusons ago, our grandfather Nathaniel was Alpha of Greypack, powerful, respected, and eulerly devoted to his fated mate, Isabel. Maya's voice turned biler. She was from the Blackwood Pack, our greatest rival. The bond was supposed to unite the territories, end decades of bloodshed. Nathaniel trusted her completely. Let her into every strategy, me-plussing, shared every weakness, believed every word of love she whispered. The wolf pressed closer to me, and I felt him trembling. It was all a lie. Isabel had been planted, raised from childhood to seduce an alpha and destroy him from within. On their bonding night, she opened the gates. Let Blackwood forces pour into our territory. Maya's hands clenched into fists. They slaughtered everyone. Women, children, elders who couldn't fight. Nathaniel found Isabel standing over his sister's body, dagger espoir in hand, laughing. I felt sick. He killed her, and the Blackwood Alpha, and half their pack in a rage so complete the forest espoir won't grow where their blood soaked the ground. But he was dying, throat torn open, and with his last breath he spoke the curse. No gray alpha will ever trust their fated mate again. What the wolf knows, the man will fear. Love and hate forever split. Unplussel, the bloodline ends. I couldn't find words. 3 genera plans, Maya continued, her voice hollow. My great-uncle drove his mate away with his paranoia, died alone and mad. My father recognized his mate and immediately saw an enemy, killed her in a fit of delusional rage, then took his own life when he realized what he'd done. I watched it happen. I was 12. The wolf made a sound like breaking, pressing his massive head against my shoulder. And now Victor. Maya's eyes glistened. His wolf knew you the moment he saw you. Fated mate, the other half of his soul, everything he's ever wanted. She gestured to the creature beside me. But his human consciousness can't reconcile it. Every instinct in his body screams that you're Isabel reborn, that you're a plant, a spy, that loving you will destroy everything. But I'm not. It doesn't matter what you are. The curse makes him see you as a threat. Every kind gesture you make, he interprets as manipulation. Every vulnerability you show, he reads as strategic calculation. Maya stood, and I saw she was crying. The wolf is going feral trying to claim you before the human kills you. The human is becoming more paranoid daily, convinced you're the enemy. Soon they'll tear him apart from the inside, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. There has to be a way to break it. There isn't, Maya's voice cracked. I've searched for 15 years, every ancient text, every pack historian, every witch who'll speak to me. The curse ends one way, when there are no more gray alphas to suffer it. She looked at her brother, and the love and agony in her face made my chest ache. I'm watching my brother die in slow motion, and the cruelest part, he's finally found the love our family has been dying for, and it's killing him faster. The wolf shitted, becoming impossibly smaller, pressed against me like he was trying to crawl inside my skin for safety. So run, Evelyn. Maya's voice was a broken whisper. Please, I can't watch him destroy one more person I love. I can't bury another mate he killed in madness. Just go. But the wolf's eyes met mine, burning red and desperate and human in a way that shaliered me. I can't, I heard myself say. I can't leave him. Maya closed her eyes. Then God have mercy on you both, because this story only ends in blood. She disappeared into the trees, leaving me alone with a creature caught between Devo Plan and Destruct Plan, while something ancient and merciless wound its noose around us both. The summons came at dawn, delivered by the same stone-faced courier. This, Paus me, the message was brief. Grey Manor, noon. Come prepared to prove yourself. My mother's face was ashen. He's going to kill you. Maybe, I said, surprised by how calm I felt. But I have to go. The trials began the moment I arrived. Victor stood in the training yard, surrounded by his pack's fiercest warriors, looking every inch the brutal alpha the stories painted him as. Those ice-blue eyes assessed me with clinical detachment, no hint of the wolf who'd trembled against me in the forest. Miss Clark has claimed innocence, he announced to the assembled wolves. We will test this claim. What followed was 3 days of hell. They made me run obstacle courses designed for shiters. My human body screaming as I forced myself over walls meant for creatures twice my strength. They interrogated me for hours about pack polyplusiques I knew nothing about, circling back to the same questions unimplacil my head spun. They locked me in a room with silver, poisoned to shiters to see if I'd try to weaponize it. I endured it all, even as my body broke down, even as exhaust blonde made my vision blur. Because somewhere behind Victor's cold mask, a wolf was watching, and I refused to fail him. The final test was a hunt. "You'll track with us," Victor said, his voice devoid of emo pson. "Prove you can move through our territory without compromising our posa pson." They shited, all of them, a display of raw power that should have terrified me. Victor's wolf was the largest midnight black with those burning red eyes, and when he looked at me, I saw the briefest flicker of anguish before he turned away. We moved through the forest, and I pushed myself to keep pace despite my bay-leered body. Then everything went wrong. The rogue came from nowhere, a massive gray wolf, eyes yellow with madness, foam flecking its jaws. It barreled through the forma plasson straight for Victor, who was focused on tracking and didn't see the ALAC coming. I didn't think, didn't hesitate. I threw myself between them. Pain exploded through my shoulder as the rogue's teeth sank deep, but I'd bought Victor a split second, enough for him to spin, to see the threat, to strike, with lethal precision. The rogue dropped, dead before it hit the ground. Then Victor was shiting, human hands catching me as I fell. "What the hell were you thinking?" His voice was raw, and when I forced my eyes open, his face was a mask of fury and something else. Something like fear. "It was going to kill you," I gasped, blood soaking through my shirt. For just a moment his eyes flashed red. The wolf, breaking through. He stared at me with devastating and confusion, like he was seeing me for the first me, his hands hovering over my wound as if he couldn't decide whether to help or hurt. "Victor," I whispered. The wall slammed back down, but not before I saw recognition crack across his face. Horror, understanding, then ice. "Don't mistake duty for Devo Pson Wayne," he snarled, but his hands were shaking as he ripped fabric to bandage my shoulder. "This proves nothing except that you're reckless." I wasn't thinking about proof. Blood loss was making me dizzy. I just couldn't let you die. His jaw clenched, and he wouldn't meet my eyes as he worked. But his touch was gentle, so gentle it contradicted every harsh word. His fingers lingered on my pulse point, feeling my heartbeat, and I heard him exhale something that sounded like a prayer or a curse. "You're an idiot," he said roughly, lating me like I weighed nothing. "Throwing yourself at a rogue wolf, for me." "Yes," I breathed against his chest, feeling his heart racing as fast as mine. "For you." He looked down at me then, and for a heartbeat I saw both, the man and the wolf, plussing for control in those fractured eyes, blue bleeding to red and back again. War and want tangled so shortly they'd become the same thing. Then he turned away, carrying me toward the manor. "Maya will see to your wounds. You've passed your tests, Miss Clark." His voice was carefully flat. "You're free to leave my territory." But his arms boasted around me like he was holding the only thing keeping him from falling apart. And in that contradiction, I finally understood the true cruelty of the curse. Victor didn't hate me. He was terrified of how desperately he loved me. Maya found me in the manor's library 3 days after the hunt, my wounded shoulder esplol throbbing despite the supernatural healing salves she'd applied. I was searching through ancient pack histories, desperate for anything that might help Victor, when she set a leather-bound journal on the table in front of me. "I lied," she said simply. "There is a way to break the curse. I just didn't think it was possible. You threw yourself in front of that rogue." My hands trembled as I opened the journal. The pages were yellowed with age, filled with cramped handwriting in a language I barely recognized. But Maya translated, her voice steady despite the tears gathering in her eyes. "Your family name, Clark. It's not as unremarkable as you think." She pointed to a passage. 300 years ago, there was another name, Clearwater. humans with a rare bloodline born with the ability to survive a shatter's claiming bite. More than survive, to merge with their wolf, become a bridge between fractured souls. My breath caught. Curse breakers. The ritual is... Maya's voice faltered. Evelyn, it's agonizing. The claiming bite itself would kill most humans. But for someone with your blood, it doesn't kill, it transforms, burns away everything human, and rebuilds you as something new, something that can hold two souls in one body. She turned to another page, and I saw illustra plans that made my stomach turn, bodies convulsing, mouths open in silent screams, the transforma plan captured in brutal detail. Most don't survive the pain. Mayacon plus nude. Their hearts give out. Their minds break. Of the 12 recorded alemps, only 3 lived through it. She met my eyes, and you'd have to do it during the blood moon, the one plami when Victor's wolf would be strong enough to override his human consciousness and complete the claim against his will. When? The word came out as a whisper. 5 days. Maya's hand covered mine. In 5 days, the blood moon rises. Victor's already 5 plus the pull. I can see it destroying him. The wolf is becoming feral, desperate to claim you before the curse kills them both. The human is spiraling into paranoia, convinced you're going to be his destruct. Son. They're both right, I said sotely. I might be his destruct, son, or his salva-son. You'd be choosing to die, Maya said fiercely, because even if you survive the transforma-son, you'd never be human again, never be able to go back to your family, your life. You'd be bound to Victor forever, literally merged with his fractured soul. I thought about my family, who'd stopped speaking to me, owned her my reject son, about Marcus, who'd discarded me like trash, about the life I'd lived in careful, quiet desperapson, always making myself smaller, always accept plussing crumbs. Then I thought about red eyes in the darkness, about roses lee tea on pillows and gentle protection from a creature that should terrify me, about Victor's shaking hands as he bandaged my wounds, the war in his eyes between hate and helpless devopson. What happens if I don't? I asked. Maya's expression crumbled. The wolf goes completely feral during the blood moon. Victor's human side will fight back, trying to stop the claiming. They'll tear his body apart from the inside. Her voice broke. I'll lose my brother. Either he dies, or he becomes a mindless beast that has to be put down. Those are the only outcomes if you walk away. I closed the journal, my decision already made, though my hands wouldn't stop trembling. Tell me what I need to do. Evelyn, tell me. Maya stared at me for a long moment, searching my face for doubt she wouldn't find. Finally, she nodded. During the blood moon, you bare your throat to his wolf. Accept the claiming bite. Then you survive the transform-upslon, or... She didn't finish. Or I die trying to save him. I stood, ignoring the protest from my wounded shoulder, beeler than watching him destroy himself. He doesn't deserve this, Maya whispered. He's been nothing but cruel to you. His wolf hasn't. I touched the spot over my heart, where I swore I could feel an invisible thread pulling me north, toward wherever Victor was at this moment. And somewhere underneath the curse and the fear, the man wouldn't be either. I've seen it in those moments when his control slips, the way he touches me, the way he looks at me when he thinks I don't know plusks. Maya pulled me into a fierce embrace. You're either the bravest person I've ever met or the most foolish. Maybe both, I had mailed against her shoulder. That night, the wolf came to my window as always. But this plums me. When I met those burning red eyes, I saw the despair plan there, the feral edge creeping in. The countdown to destruct plan from sucking in his blood. 5 days unpulsal the blood moon. 5 days unpulsal. I either saved Victor Gray or died trying. I reached out my hand, and the wolf pressed his massive head against my palm, a sound like breaking escaping his throat. I know, I whispered. I know what's coming. I'm not running. His eyes blazed brighter, and somewhere in the manner I knew Victor's human consciousness was pluxing the surge of hope and terror that came with my words. The curse wanted us to destroy each other. Instead, I was going to burn for him and pray we both survived the flames. Marcus appeared at my family's door 2 days before the blood moon, charm dripping like poison from every word. My parents welcomed him like a savior, desperate to repair our family's damaged reputation. I watched from the stairs as he played his role perfectly, the remorseful mate who'd made a terrible mistake, the powerful beta willing to give me a second chance. I've ended things with Stella, he announced, loud enough for neighbors to hear. I realize now that Evelyn is my true mate. I was a fool to reject her. My mother actually cried with relief. He found me in the garden an hour later, his mask slipping the moment we were alone. You've been spending plus me with Victor Gray. Not a quest plus on, an accusa son. That's none of your business. His hand shot out, gripping my arm hard enough to bruise. Everything about you is my business. You're mine, Evelyn. Promised to me since we were children. You rejected that bond, remember? I tried to pull away, but his grip buttoned. In front of everyone, you made your choice. And now I'm reclaiming you. His smile was cruel. The river songs betrayed us. Stella was feeding informapulse on to Greypack. By taking you back, I secure my posy pulson and gain leverage over the most powerful alpha in the north. He leaned closer, his breath hot against my ear. Victor Gray wants you. Everyone can see it, even if he's too cursed to act on it, which makes you valuable. I'm not a bargaining chip. You're whatever I say you are. His eyes flashed with his wolf. Accept the rebonding willingly, or I'll force it. Either way, you're mine by tomorrow night. I drove my knee into his groin with everything I had. As he doubled over, I ran. I made it halfway to the forest before they caught me, 3 of Marcus's pack members materializing from the shadows. A cloth pressed over my mouth, chemical sweet and suffocating. The world bulted sideways, and darkness swallowed me whole. I woke in a cabin I didn't recognize, my hands bound with silver-laced rope that burned against my skin. Marcus sat across from me, casually cleaning his nails with a knife. The forced bond is more painful, he said conversationally, but it'll work just as well. Once I bite you during your heat cycle, which I can trigger R+ officially, you'll be bound to me whether you want it or not. Terror clawed up my throat. Victor will kill you. Victor Gray is cursed and going feral. Everyone knows it. Marcus stood, moving toward me with predatory intent. By the plummy, he figures out where you are. You'll already be marked, and there's nothing. The door exploded inward. Not opened. Exploded. Wood and metal shredding like paper as a massive black wolf forced his way through. Too large for the frame, red eyes blazing with inhuman rage. Marcus shitted instantly, but he was nothing compared to the creature that had come for me. Victor's wolf moved with terrifying speed, catching Marcus mid-leap and slamming him into the wall hard enough to crack Psumber. The sound that came from the wolf's throat wasn't animal. It was murder, given voice. Victor, don't... I tried, but he wasn't listening. Couldn't listen, because the man was gone. The wolf was completely feral, ripping through Marcus's pack members like they were made of pultsu. Blood sprayed across the walls. Screams cut short. When Marcus tried to run, the wolf caught him by the throat, and I watched Victor's human consciousness try to surface. A flicker of blue in those red eyes, a moment of horrified recognition at what he was doing. Then the wolf slammed back into control, and Marcus hit the floor gurgling. "Victor, please," I screamed, struggling against my bonds. "You're killing him. You're not a murderer." The wolf's head snapped toward me, and for a heartbeat I thought I'd made a fatal mistake. He stalked closer, blood dripping from his jaws, every line of his body screaming violence and possession. Then he saw the silver rope, the burns on my wrists, the bruises on my arms from Marcus's grip. The sound he made broke something in my chest, rage and anguish and helpless devotion tangled into one inhuman keen. He shited, not to human, but to something between. His form unstable and wrong as man and wolf warred for control. His hands, half human, half clawed, reached for my bonds with shaking despera salson. "Evelyn," Victor's voice but fractured, two tones speaking as one. "Mate, mine, hurt you, kill them, kill everyone. I'm okay," I whispered, even though I wasn't, even though terror and relief were choking me. "I'm okay. You found me." His eyes flickered, red to blue to red again, faster now, the curse tearing him apart. Can't hold him back. Wolf wants, needs to claim. Tonight, now. Blood moon rising and you're here and you smell like him. 2 more days, I said desperately, remembering Maya's instruct pulsons. The ritual needs the full moon, Victor. 2 more days and I can break the curse. You have to hold on. Can't. He was shaking, his form flickering between states. Losing. We're. He collapsed against me, and I caught him despite my bound hands, feeling his heart racing like it would tear through his ribs. Behind us, Marcus groaned. Spool alive but broken. The wolf and Victor snarled, tried to surge forward to finish the job. "No," I said firmly, holding Victor's fractured gaze. "You're not a monster. You're not what the curse wants you to be. 2 more days, Victor. Hold on for 2 more days." His forehead dropped to my shoulder, and I felt wetness that might have been blood, or tears, or both. Trying. God, Evelyn, I'm trying. But he's so strong, and you're right here, and everything in me is screaming to claim you before someone takes you again. No one's taking me. I pressed my bound hands to his chest, feeling both hearts beepwang in tandem. Man and wolf, fractured but vibesing. I'm yours. I've been yours since the night you brought me a rose. 2 more days and I'll prove it. He shuddered against me, and slowly, painfully, his form stabilized back to human. Victor pulled back, his ice-blue eyes haunted and exhausted and barely holding on. "I almost killed him," he whispered. "He tried to force a bond on me, to use me as leverage against you." I met his gaze steadily. "You saved me." I lost control. His voice broke. "Evelyn, when I saw you bound, smelled his hands on you, there was nothing humanly, T, just rage, just the need to destroy anything that touched what's mine." He backed away, horror dawning. "You should be terrified of me." "I'm not. You should be." But his hands were Espal shaking as he cut through my bonds, Espal gentle despite the violence they'd just commiled. And when I touched his face, he closed his eyes like a man receiving absolute pause on he didn't deserve. 2 more days, I repeated. "Can you hold on?" Victor looked at me with eyes that held both love and destruction, then turned away. "I don't know," he admitted, "but for you I'll try." Marcus fled into the wilderness with what remained of his pack, and Victor's wolves gave chase like death given form. I rode with Maya, clinging to her as she shited and ran, her silver wolf form sung up ground with terrifying speed. Ahead, I could see Victor's black wolf leading the hunt, but something was wrong with his movements. Jerky, unstable, like two puppeteers five-seeing over the same strings. We cornered them at dawn in a frozen ravine, walls of ice rising on 3 sides. Marcus and 4 others, bloodied and desperate, turned to face the circle of gray-pack wolves closing in. Then Victor shited to human, and my heart sank. The warmth was gone from his eyes. Only ice remained, cold and calcula playing and Eulerly convinced of my betrayal. He walked past me like I didn't exist, his élen blaon fixed on Marcus with predatory focus. Intraspa. His voice was glacier smooth. You kidnap the woman who's been feeding you in forma palsan. Stage a drama plus C rescue so I'd be grateful. Believe her innocent. He turned those ice eyes on me and I saw nothing but contempt. Did you really think I was that stupid? What? The word came out strangled. Victor, no. The plasming was perfect. Too perfect. He stalked closer, and I backed up until I hit Maya's steadying presence. You appear on my borders right when intelligence leaks begin. You throw yourself at a rogue wolf to save me, earning my trust. Then your co-conspirator kidnaps you, knowing my wolf would come for you, knowing I'd be distracted, vulnerable. That's insane, I shouted, but he kept talking over me. And now here we are. My pack exposed, my defenses down, and you've accomplished exactly what Isabel did 3 generations ago. His smile was cruel. Congratula. Sons. The curse was right about you, Eteral. Victor, please, you know that's not true. Do I? He was in my face now, and the cold fury radiating off him made me flinch. Because all I know is that every instinct I have screams you're dangerous, that loving you will destroy everything I've built, that you're... He stopped mid-sentence, his body going rigid. His eyes flickered red, then blue, then red again. A sound escaped his throat, something between a growl and a scream. No, he gasped, but his voice was doubled, fractured. Not now, not... His body convulsed, bones cracking as the shit tried to take him. But it stopped halfway, leaving him caught between forms in a way that looked agonizing. Wolf snout on human face, claws burrs splaying through finger plaps, his spine arching at an impossible angle. Victor! Maya lunged forward, but he snarled at her, keeping her back. The wolf! Victor's human voice barely cut through the animal sounds pouring from his throat. He knows you didn't betray us. Trying to break free, trying to protect you, but I can't let him. He collapsed to his knees, hands tearing at his own chest, like he could physically rip the warring consciousness apart. Blood welled under his fingernails. His eyes were strobing between colors so fast it looked like they were burning. Let Marcus go, he growled, but I couldn't tell which consciousness was speaking. Let him take you. Let the spy return to... His voice cut off in a howl of pain as his body tried to shit again and failed. No, she's mine. Can't let him touch. Stop! I dropped to my knees in front of him, grabbing his face between my hands. His skin was burning, ice and fire at once. Victor, you're tearing yourself apart. Beeler than leeing you destroy the pack. Human Victor's voice, but his eyes were pure wolf red. Beeler than becoming my father, killing his mate in paranoid rage, and then... He screamed, back arching, and I watched in horror as his ribcage expanded and contracted like something was trying to break out from the inside. The blood moon is... Tonight, Maya said urgently. He can't hold them separate anymore. One side has to win, or he dies, I finished, watching the man I loved being torn apart by a curse he didn't ask for, by a war between Devo Pson and fear that had no winner. Marcus used the distract Pson to run, but I didn't care. Let him go. Nothing maleered except the fracturing soul in front of me. Evelyn. Victor's human voice, barely a whisper. His hand reached for my face with excruciating slowness. Thigh slung the wolf's control for every inch. Run, please. When he breaks free, when I lose this fight, I'll claim you, force the bond. And you'll die because you're not ready, because the moon isn't full yet, and I'll have killed you just like my father. Then we do it now, I heard myself say. The ritual, now. You won't survive. I won't survive watching you destroy yourself either. Tears were streaming down my face. Your wolf loves me. Your human side loves me too, even if the curse won't let you see it. And I love you, Victor. Both of you. All of you. So if I'm going to die tonight anyway, I'd rather die trying to save you than live knowing I let you tear yourself apart. His eyes held mine, red and blue 5+ing for dominance, man and wolf locked in their final ballet. It'll hurt, he whispered. I know. You'll hate me. Never. I don't deserve this. Don't deserve you. I leaned forward, unplussed till our foreheads touched, feeling his heartbeat, 2 rhythms that should have been one. The curse convinced you that you don't deserve love. Prove it wrong. Choose me, Victor. Both of you. Choose me. For one suspended moment, everything went esposal. Then Victor's eyes blazed pure red, the wolf seizing complete control, and his voice came out doubled, unified, man and beast speaking as one for the first. Me. Hours. The blood moon rose early, pain mousing the frozen ravine in shades of crimson, and I bared my throat to destiny. The blood moon hung impossibly large in the sky, turning the snow to rivers of crimson. Victor's pack formed a circle around us, witnesses to what would either be salva plesson or slaughter. Marcus stumbled back into view, desperate and foolish, making one last play for leverage he'd never have. She's mine by pack law, he shouted. Promised since childhood. You can't. I didn't let him finish. I stepped forward into the center of the circle and turned my back on Marcus like he was nothing. Because he was nothing. Not anymore. Victor stood across from me in human form, but barely. His control was a fraying thread, his eyes strobing between colors, his hands clawed and shaking. Man and wolf locked in their death spiral, moments from tearing him apart permanently. Victor, I said clearly, voice carrying across the frozen ravine, I choose you. His eyes locked on mine, and I saw the war raging there. Both of you. Khan plowed, reaching up to unfasten the collar of my coat, baring my throat to the blood moon. Man and wolf, alpha and mate. The one who brings me roses and the one who's terrified I'll destroy him. I choose all of it. All of you. Don't. His voice was broken, doubled. You'll die. The curse wins either way. The curse wins if we let fear decide. I took another step closer, close enough to touch. But I'm not afraid of you, Victor. I never have been. Not in the forest. Not when you interrogated me. Not when you saved me from Marcus. Not now. You should be. I love you. The words rang out like a bell. Even if you never choose me back, even if you spend the rest of your life believing I'm your enemy, even if this kills me, I love you and I'm not running. Something cracked in his expression. The walls he'd built, the curse's certainty, the fear that had ruled 3 genera balsons. His wolf surged forward, and his human side didn't fight it. He shitted. The black wolf stalked toward me with predatory grace, red eyes blazing brighter than the blood moon overhead. Every pack member held their breath. Marcus made a sound of protest that no one acknowledged. The wolf circled me once, sin plus king, assessing, then stopped directly in front of me. Those burning eyes met mine, and I saw both souls looking out, man and beast, finally aligned. I plilted my head back, fully exposing my throat. I'm yours. The wolf struck. Pain exploded through me like lightning made of fire, like every nerve ending was being re-relan in agony. His teeth sank deep, and I felt the venom, shatter claiming bite, designed to mark and bond and usually kill. It poured through my bloodstream like molten metal, and I heard myself screaming. My vision went white, then red, then black. I was dying. I could feel it, my human body unable to withstand what was being done to it, my heart stew-leering, my lungs forging how to breathe. This was the death Maya had warned me about. The transformaps on most humans didn't survive, but underneath the agony, I felt something else. Ancient blood recognizing ancient magic, the curse-breaker lineage in my veins, Aya Song, 5+ing back against death with savage determina. Son, you will not take her. Something primal in me snarled at the darkness. She is ours, and I burned away everything human, every weakness, every limitable son, every piece of the girl who'd accepted crumbs and reject plan, and lived small to make others comfortable. That Evelyn died in fire and agony, unmade at the cellular level. What emerged was something new. I opened my eyes and the world had changed. Sharper, brighter. I could smell everything. Victor's fear and hope and desperate love, Maya's tears of joy, Marcus's terror, as he finally understood what I'd become. I looked down at my hands and watched claws slide free, then retract. Felt power coiling in muscles that hadn't existed moments ago. Turned to the black wolf S. standing over me protectively and met his eyes, red to red. And through our bond, new and raw and perfect, I felt Victor's fractured consciousness, saw myself through both sets of his eyes, the man's view, clouded by curse and paranoia, where I'd always been threat and temptable son, tangled too whatly to separate, and the wolf's view, clear and certain, where I'd always been mate, home, the missing piece of his soul. I reached across the bond and merged them, showed human Victor what wolf Victor had always known, that every gesture of kindness had been genuine, every moment of vulnerability real, that I'd never been Isabel reborn, but just a broken girl who'd found love in the most impossible place. The curse tried to fight it, tried to split the views again, to make him distrust what I was showing him. But I was bridge now, not just witness. Curse breaker. I held both halves of his consciousness in my new hybrid awareness and refused to let them separate. Look, I commanded through our bond. See what I see. Feel what I feel. I am not your enemy. I have never been your enemy. And you, Victor Gray, both of you, are loved. The curse shattered. I felt it break like glass, 3 genera plans of poison dissolving under the simple truth that I'd loved him enough to die for him even when he'd given me every reason not to. That trust, freely given in the face of his fear, was the thing the curse couldn't survive. Victor shited to human and collapsed to his knees in front of me, whole for the first me in his life. Man and wolf unified, no more war between them. Just one consciousness looking up at me with wonder and devastation and soul-deep relief. Evelyn. My name on his lips was prayer and apology and promise. I'm so sorry. I saw you. I always saw you, but the curse made me think, made me believe. I know. I dropped to my knees in front of him, taking his face in my hands. It's over now. You died for me. His voice broke. You let me bite you, knowing you might not survive, just to save me from myself. And I do it again. I smiled, feeling fangs I was S. Paul Jing used to. Because you're worth saving, Victor. Both of you always were. He pulled me against him, and I felt his whole body shaking. My Luna, he whispered against my hair. My mate, mine, yours, I agreed, and you're mine. Around us, the pack began to howl, a sound of celebra pulson and recogna pipson. Their alpha was whole, their Luna had risen. Marcus fled into the night, but no one pursued him. He was nothing now, less than nothing. Maya appeared at our side, tears streaming down her face. The curse is broken, I can feel it. Not just for Victor, but for the whole bloodline. Future genera plans won't suffer this anymore. Victor looked up at his sister, then at me, and I saw everything he felt through our bond. Gratitude and love, and a wonder so vast it hurt. She saved us all, he said, not just me, our N+4 family line. No, I corrected sotilly, we saved each other. The blood moon began to set, and as dawn approached, Victor stood and pulled me up with him. He addressed his pack with a voice that no longer fractured, no longer wavered between man and beast. My mate, your Luna, she walks between worlds now, human and shatter, cursebreaker and soul bridge. His hand buttoned on mine, and anyone who threatens her answers to both sides of me. The pack bowed as one, and I felt the weight of their recognition settle over me like a crown. Victor turned to me, his eyes, swole ice blue but warm now, whole, holding mine. I don't deserve you. Probably not, I agreed with a smile, but you're stuck with me anyway. He laughed, and the sound was lighter than I'd ever heard it. Then he kissed me under the fading blood moon, and I tasted freedom on his lips. Freedom from curse and fear and the poison of broken trust. We'd both died tonight, the girl who'd accepted rejection and the alpha torn between love and paranoia. What stood in their place was something stronger, something whole, something that had been forged in fire and blood, and the simple revolutionary act of choosing each other when the N+4 world said we shouldn't. Take me home, I whispered against his lips. Victor's smile was devasta, sung and real, and N+ rely mine. You are home, Luna. And for the first time in either of our lives, that was true. 3 months later, I stood at the edge of gray territory watching the first thaw of spring transform the frozen landscape into something alive and green. The forest that had witnessed my death and rebirth was blooming, as if the breaking of the curse had lighted some invisible weight from the land itself. Victor's arms came around me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder, and through our bond I felt his contentment like warm honey in my veins. This arousal amazed me, the constant awareness of his emotions, his thoughts, the seamless unity between man and wolf that I could feel as clearly as my own heartbeat. Maya wants to document everything, he murmured against my neck. For the archives, how you broke the curse, the transforma plan process, all of it. She thinks other cursed bloodlines might benefit. I leaned back into his warmth. Tell her yes. If this can help even one other family avoid 3 generations of suffering, it's worth it. His arms buttoned. You're too generous. Aid her everything. Aid her everything, we're here. I turned in his embrace, me plussing those ice blue eyes that finally held only warmth when they looked at me. Whole, together, that's what mailers. A howl echoed from the training grounds, the pack running drills, my pack now. They'd accepted me with a reverence that Esab school felt surreal. Tree-ape sung me, not just as Luna, but as something sacred. The cursebreaker who'd saved their alpha. Your family sent another Leeler, Victor said carefully, and I felt his protect spotlaviness spike through the bond. Your mother wants to reconcile, says they were wrong to... No. The word came out sharper than intended. They made their choice when I needed them. I've made mine. He studied my face, searching for pain or regret. Finding neither, his expression so teamed into something like pride. You've changed, not just the transformapson. You stand differently, speak differently. I died, I said simply. The girl who accepted crumbs and rejects on and lived small is gone. What's Leet doesn't bend for people who only want her now that she's powerful. Victor's smile was fierce and full of love. My Luna. Your mate, I corrected, pulling him down for a kiss that tasted like spring and new beginnings and promises we'd both die to keep. Somewhere in the forest, a wolf howled, joyful, whole, finally free. And I howled back,